Hello, welcome to Walk in the Park. My name is Tony Ingram, and today is October 21st, 2015. This is episode 118. You can see all of my episodes at my video blog, walkinthepark.tv, walkinthepark.tv, going back a couple of years now. So, of course, this is also on, this is on Pegasus, public access television, showing Thursday nights at 9 p.m., and Saturday and Sunday at 10 a.m., and Tuesdays at 8 p.m., all on Channel 13. So in Ithaca, New York. So we're going to start off in Ithaca, New York here. We're going to look at Gorges entering the autumn. So first of all, we're going to go up in the air on one of Bill Hecht's wonderful aerial photographs he takes. And this is looking at East Hill over Ithaca. And in the center there is Cornell University. And Cornell University, you can see, is subtended by two gorges. And we're going to visit both of them a little bit. The first one we're going to go is over on the right. So look on the right, you can see the gorge coming down, separating Cornell from College Town. And we'll zoom in on that, and you can see that dark area going down in the upper right there, separating a gorge going down. And we're going to go on the Cascadilla Glen Trail, which has been there a very long time. And but recently upgraded, recently repaired. We'll talk about that in a minute. And I was out there the other day, on the weekend actually, and I took a few pictures, and we'll have a little video in a minute. This is looking down from the College Avenue Bridge. So this is where the Cascadilla Glen Trail begins, right off of the, I think it's called the Founder's Path, and so the top of the trail. And then it goes all the way down. This is down the bottom, down in what they call Treman Triangle, a little park named after Robert H. Treman, and who was instrumental in many of our parks and preserved areas around here. And this is a new gate they put in there a couple of years ago, and just about a year ago was a dedication, a reopening of the gorge. It had been closed for a couple of years due to storm damage. And there was a lot of money had to be raised. This is Ithaca's mayor, Svante Myrick, and he was one of the speakers, one of a number of speakers, just about this time last October. And then we had people that went up on the trail. This is a new staircase that was built at great expense. And I'll show you what the old one. The old one was over to the left here. Actually, this doesn't show the old staircase. It shows it under construction and closed for a while. And this Gorge Trail, Attention Gorge Trail, is impassable, and somebody changed it to impossible. And so anyway, this staircase was built farther away from the cliff than the previous one. The previous one hugged the cliff, and then I guess there were landslides and such and washouts, so they really had to go to quite expense to replace it. But one of the problems of having it so close to the cliff was because of icicles and so forth, that I'll show you in a minute, actually like that. And, of course, people don't go up there when there's like that. Mainly falling rock, I think, was the issue. So this is what the trail is going to look like next month until they close it, when it finally starts to get like this. And they close it in the winter. And they close the gate down below, and you have to, like in the state park gorges, you have to wait for Cascadilla Glen to be reopened in the spring. And hopefully we won't have any winter damage, any significant winter damage that will delay that. So I'm going to show you a little video here I made, one of my park minutes from just the other day. I was over in Cascadilla Glen and took a little walk up there and took some pictures. So let's go right to that. Cascadilla Glen is the shortest and prettiest pedestrian route connecting Cornell and College Town with downtown Ithaca, New York. The Gorge Trail is 1/3 of a mile long, passes 6 waterfalls, and rises 400 feet in College Town. A mid-October snow shower foreshadows the season ahead. Once winter arrives, the Cascadilla Glen Trail will be closed until spring. Friends photograph lovers posing at the foot of the final waterfall on the trail, the Giant's Staircase, at the base of the steep steps to College Town and below the College Avenue Bridge over the Glen. So very brief. One of my Park Minute series, that was what, 51. I'll also be showing you 52. You can go to my blog. There it is. That's again, you can go to walkinthepark.tv and see all the Park Minutes as well as these shows. You might want to check out this book. Take a look at this book. It's you can get this up at the Cornell Plantations gift shop and probably other bookshops and so forth in town. And I got a copy of it here, and it's just loaded with information about all the different paths around the Cornell campus and Cornell Plantations preserves that are in the area. And it's really nice. It's full of information, interpretive information, natural history, geology, botany. A very nice publication and great guide to have. So if you go up the Cascadilla Glen Trail, you can use this guide. It'll tell you about many of the things along the way. It's pretty good. Okay, so we're going to take a look at one of the other gorges here. Go back to our Bill Hecht aerial here. On the left is Fall Creek Gorge, and we've been spending some time on there lately. Last episode, 117, was all about Ithaca Falls. And so we'll zoom in a little bit on the left there. And just left of center in that dark area, you might be able to make out the waterfall. There it was last week. And that's, you may remember or be aware that Ithaca Falls has been a place that has been closed at times, has been cleanups from lead from the old Ithaca Gun Company, where they tested their shotguns up at the top of the bluff to the right for about 100 years, and the lead has come down the cliff into the gorge, and there was a big EPA cleanup back about 2004 or so, and then another one this year when lead was found in the gorge again. This is the base of the cliff, about halfway up the gorge from the street, from Lake Street. It's only about 100 yards walk into there anyway. And this is just a section here where lead was found. And they put up a temporary fence. There'll be another one because there's still some lead debris on the cliff that will be coming down little by little, and perhaps some that was not gotten at the top of the cliff in the original cleanup. I don't know. That seems to be debated. But in any case, they will be cordoning off that. But when you go up, most people just go up to the falls and sit around the falls, stand around there, take pictures. This area was not part of the cleanup, was not part of the area that was determined to be contaminated. So you don't really have to worry about this. More of a concern is staying away from the side of the cliff in case a rock could fall down and hit you in the head. So you don't want that to happen. But it's from here back, I'd say, about from when this picture was taken, it's back to the falls. There's no issue with lead. And it has been cleaned up, and the Environmental Protection Agency says it is safe now to walk in there in the area which was contaminated. So we're going to take a little look at Ithaca Falls. I have a very short little video called Ithaca Falls Reflections. So we'll go there. Well, that was sweet. Once again, we are walking the park and walkinthepark.tv to see everything online. This is Pegasus Public Access Television, Ithaca, New York. Channel 13 on your cable channel in Ithaca. Now we're going to go up to Buttermilk Falls, way up in Buttermilk Falls State Park in the upper park, beyond what they call Little Lake Treman, to a area where the stream is quiet. And look at these reflections. So I've got another park minute here to show you, and this one is Buttermilk Creek Reflections. So let's take a look at this one. I hope you've had a chance to get out and enjoy the burst of color as they go out in a burst of glory, I guess, the leaves on all the deciduous trees. And enjoy it now, because it's going to get pretty drab really soon, and we'll have to look for beauty in subtler places and subtler ways. Now we're going to go over to Treman State Park, Enfield Glen they call it. And here's another aerial picture that Bill Hecht took of the park. And the green area leading from the center up to the left is a greenish brownish area. That is Enfield Glen. Now this is not a fall picture. I think this is a spring picture. But it's about, a gorge is about 2 miles, 2.5 miles long. And right in the center you can see it kind of tightens in. And that little section right there is the upper gorge, and the most spectacular section of the upper gorge of the entire Enfield Glen, with 115-foot high Lucifer Falls. However, we're not going to look at Lucifer Falls today. We're going to look at this. This is one of the most photographed scenes in our area. You see it on brochures and calendars and so forth as one of the iconic pictures of Ithaca. And technically speaking, you're in Enfield here, the town of Enfield, but what the hey. When you look in the back, you can see a stone footbridge there. That was built originally back in the 1920s and rebuilt in the 1930s, and has been rebuilt many other times as floods have washed away the walls on top of it. But that's another story. What we're going to look at today is just up and down this section of Gorge. It's pretty interesting. I'm just going to run a video about that, and then we'll discuss it a little bit as to what's going on here, what creates this unique structure that we see. So coming right up here is another video. So, it's such a striking place. This straight slot of a gorge here. In fact, it's called a joint slot that has actually been created by the fractures in the rocks. And you notice there were flat areas and fractures and so forth. And looking at this scene here on the right, you can see there's some cracks in the rocks. Let's take a look at those. Vertical cracks in the rocks. And the rocks actually fall away. These are run parallel to the gorge, you see on the right there. And the cliff has been falling away along those fractures every few feet in that direction, parallel. There's these joints, they call them, that run through the rock. And occasionally the rock slips away along those. And here's a closer look. This is right down around the trail. There's actually a little alcove behind this column here, and you can look out this hole. But it's a place where a joint has eroded out. You look on the other side of the gorge here, you can see that's all flat where rock is fallen away along these parallel vertical joints that are every few feet parallel to each other. Run all through the region. And they run actually in several different planes. But here there's this what they call a master joint that the stream exploited after the Ice Age when the creek was rerouted from an older route, at least in this section of the gorge, and it found these cracks in the rocks and exploited them and became entrenched in them. So then we saw the camera focus on this scene over here where rock is fallen out, and that slab of rock you see there at the bottom is actually tipped over on its top almost, and it was at the top of that opening. And there's two joints that run in right angles to this section of gorge. So there's if you've gone through Upper Treman there, you notice there's a lot of right angle bends and some pools that are right angle. And this is where rock has fallen out along some of those intersections. It's a very common phenomenon in the area. You can see it in other parks like Taughannock and along the lake and other places. So that's kind of cool. The jointing, the fractures were caused back during mountain building times, maybe 150 or 200, 300 million years ago when the Appalachian Mountains were formed, and there's several different joints that formed, sets of joints that formed at different times. There may have been compression and pressure and hydraulic pressure of fluids in the rocks, or even perhaps natural gas as one of the pressure from natural gas may have cracked at least some of these joints. That's one theory. So here we go. We're going to take a look at the end of this section of gorge. And by the way, we are Walk in the Park, walkinthepark.tv. Go back down to the bridge there, that wonderful bridge, and look behind that, and you can see that there's a big set of joints going up the cliff over there, which is parallel to the gorge that we're in. And we're on that bridge, and we're looking back from where we were looking before. So we're looking back here on the bridge, looking at us from this bridge, looking back. And that's the next video. So let's get that one up. So that section is, that last section where it funneled down into a slot just under the bridge is called the flume, and this is looking out the other way downstream, the other side of the bridge, and we panned up to this cliff. And so this is a couple of joints that were pretty close, and they created this slot in here that has been historically called the Flume. So a pretty cool place. And notice that there are joints up through that rock. We pointed out before that earlier picture. It's the same as, let's see if I've got this, get that picture up. Yeah. Those are the joints on the other side of the bridge. See if I can, okay. There they are. So they are parallel with, they're an extension of the joints, the cracks that formed the slot gorge. That's the entrance gorge to Enfield Glen and the rest of the wonders that are in it. So now we're going to go to take a look at the fall colors a little bit at Taughannock Falls. This was just Monday, and you go there on a sunny day. Say, oh, it's a sunny day, let's go look at the falls. Well, Taughannock Falls, well, actually any of the gorges are hard to photograph on a sunny day because you get this high contrast, and it's hard to get a good photograph of the waterfall. You actually do better on an overcast day, and you don't have these high contrast situations. But it makes an interesting photograph anyway, and it lights up the leaves and what have you. And just up the trail. Now, everybody knows where the overlook is. Everybody's going there. But a lot of people who've lived around here many years don't realize if you walk up the path to the right from the parking lot, which is all under construction now. They're building a new parking lot, a whole new area there with a little visitor center. But they're leaving the overlook the same, the historic overlook. In any case, to the right of here, you walk about 100 yards and you get up on that bluff to the right. You see how high that cliff is. You get up that high above the falls, about maybe not even halfway there. No, only about 100 yards, but it's a little bit of a hill. And you get this view. And down through the trees, which they've maintained this open because I find this to be really the sweetest view, one of the sweetest views of the falls that there is. Again, in the deep shade, so you don't get the light on the falls, and you won't this time of year. In fact, it's very little, and there's very little time in the year when you can. Maybe around the summer solstice in June, you can get the falls completely illuminated by the sun. So, okay. We're still walking the park, walkingthepark.tv to see all of our episodes. Pegasus, Ithaca, New York, Channel 13, Public Access Television. Now I'm going to go back in the air with Bill Hecht. We're looking on Cayuga Lake, looking south from Aurora, New York. So it's about 20, 25 miles north of Ithaca. And that point of land sticking out there is Long Point State Park. And it's quite a landmark on the lake. And if you get down on the shore, this is a view from actually the boat basin. They have a boat basin. It's looking over to the point, looking around a little beach there. There's a swimming beach on the other side of the point on the north side. And picnic area at the park. And there may be a playground as well. I can't remember. But anyway, here's some scenes from it. I really like Long Point. Not many people go there, especially during the week. It is sort of Aurora's, the village of Aurora's park in a way. Because that's where they go swimming and what have you, fishing, boating. Here's a little weather station right out the point sticking out in the lake. So that's kind of a cool spot there. But here's a very old picture of Long Point, probably before the park, back when the old railroad used to run all the way up through there and up to Cayuga, New York, and north of Union Springs, and connected with other rail lines. Now it only goes as far as Milliken Point. We'll show a picture of that in a minute if we have enough time. Here is another labeled aerial picture that Bill took. And Long Point is actually, you see three labels there. They're hard to read, but Long Point is the one just above center, slightly to the right. And above that is Frontenac Island. Well, that's up around Union Springs. This is another of his photos. Frontenac Island. This is the only island in Cayuga Lake. And it's a slab of limestone, the limestone formation that comes to the surface, and it actually is quite an archaeological site. This is probably back in the 1800s. Here's Frontenac Island and one of the most famous steamboats on Cayuga Lake, the Frontenac, and which actually ran aground and had a fire in 1907, I think it was, in July. There were a few lives lost. Anyway, that's Frontenac Island. It was an archaeological site, a famous archaeological site, and people who lived here 4,000 years ago used that little fishing camp and what have you. So pretty cool. Walk in the Park, walkinthepark.tv. What else do we have here? Another picture of Cayuga Lake shore. We're almost done here. This is looking at Milliken Point. This is as far as the railroad goes now, bringing coal to our power plant, which is a topic of great controversy now, whether that's going to continue to be operated or shut down or run by natural gas. So I'm sure you'll hear about it in the news if you haven't already. Now we're looking at Myers Point in the town of Lansing, and Lansing Town Park on the right, and Salt Point, which is, I guess, a Department of Environmental Conservation lands, but there's some agreement going on with the town of Lansing. In any case, the whole thing is parkland now, except for that private marina on the lower right there, but as a beach and what have you. So, and another aerial photograph here. We're just about to finish up here. This is looking over in the town of Dryden now, north of Slaterville Springs, at the Roy H. Park Preserve of the Finger Lakes Land Trust. And Bill Hecht took this picture. So that's some beautiful, here's the location of it, more or less, east of Ithaca. Well, that's all we have time for. I had a couple of more pictures, but we won't get to it this time, some other time. So thanks for joining me. And let me get us just to our closing here. Oh, here's a neat photo we'll use to close with here. Somewhere out west with the eye of God. Somebody labeled this picture. I did not take this. Okay, thanks for joining me. We'll see you soon.